you're watching Half Asian Tarot Queen. I'm Elisa. Thanks for joining. I'm going to start with the Radiant Wise Spirit. I pre-shuffled from my usual decks because I've been doing that to try to make the readings go faster, but it's crazy because when I pre-pulled the deck, like there's like so much fire in this reading. It's like I almost should show it to you because it's just like, okay, here it is. It's just like, you say you want a revolution, well, you know, we all want to change the world. Okay, I just had to just show you that because I'm just like, whoa, this is gonna be like a dramatic week, I think. Like, I mean, it already is dramatic. Like, the last two readings have been like super game changers. It was like there's a line drawn in the sand, and it was crazy because, like, who knew all that stuff was going to happen at the Capitol? And that reading was just like, I mean, it was pretty like prophetic, you know, when I went back and looked at it. But you know, there was that, and then this like great reckoning has kind of started to unfold, you know. And so then today, like, there's all this fire in the reading, so it's just like, oh my gosh, like, it's like this huge transformation and that's underway. But okay, I got one more card to pull from the Radiant Wise, but actually the cards that are coming out from the Radiant Wise are like not, oh, I was gonna say not quite as dramatic, and then this popped out right at the end because I was like, it was looking like blue skies except for so we got Queen of Wands. So at the this can be a card of like manifestation, you know, and someone who has the power to like channel their emotions and like create outcomes in the three-dimensional world. But then this can also be a card of the other woman. So there could be like a conflict that's going on with like maybe like a third-party situation, not even necessarily like a love situation, but you know, there's like one too many cooks in the kitchen. But the other cards, it kind of goes back and forth. So we have the Ace of Cups, which is this brand new beginning in love. We have the Queen of Pentacles, which is this loving, nurturing queen. She's got a blessing in her hand. We've got the King of Swords, which this is like a totally harsh reality check that's coming online. And then we have the Knight of Cups, which is this like message of love coming in, you know, like this. It's interesting that we have both of these. And then we have the Devil. So it's crazy. It's just sort of like, it was interesting because in the last couple readings I was talking about this line being drawn in the sand and then this reckoning. So it's just like there's like this divergence that's happening depending on like which side of the line you fell on. Like if you were on one side of the line, you were going to have this like spiritual awakening and like all these things are going to start opening up. But if you were on the other side of the line, which was like people who were like necessarily not in on alignment with like the truth as it is moving forward, we're gonna have like kind of this stuck like harsh way forward, you know, which is interesting because we also have this toxic, you know. So it looks like there's gonna be both outcomes, you know, and it's like we've got this other woman here, you know, so interesting. But it's definitely like looking like a shakedown is in the works, you know. And when I picked the mystical shaman, I got at the bottom of the deck, I got the Seer, which is a card of like following your intuition, you know. And it's a card of like a sort of like guidance for like what to do when things fall apart and like everything's in flux, you know. Like you gotta follow your gut, you know, because this is a moment when like your intellect is not necessarily going to serve you like in the way that following your intuition would, you know. So this is a moment to definitely follow your intuition, you know, because it's a little bit of a, you know, like what people would call a crapshoot, you know, depending on which side of the line you're on. So we've got Pachamama, we've got Standstill, Fire, and I'm just gonna stop there because these cards are like all like super fiery, you know, like it's just like, look at all that fire. But this is actually a card of Gaia, and it's a card of Earth, you know, and having reverence for the Earth. And like the way I'm taking it in this reading is sort of like, this is like a message of grounding and being rooted, getting back to your roots, and like really sinking into what your values are, you know, because this is a moment of, it's a pretty unsettling moment, you know, and so it's like a moment of truth, really, where, you know, you really want to be in alignment with what your truth is, you know. And then we have Standstill. So this is interesting because this is a message about sort of taking a moment for yourself and like being still and allowing the guidance to come to you, you know. So it's like you have all this fire and all this craziness out there, but this person is like sitting there like meditating, like, you know, and they've kind of like, and I feel like this makes sense because there's all this turmoil and tumult in the world, especially if you're in the US, like, it's like drama-rama, you know, but like this is a moment to like go inward and like really tune into like your values and your roots, you know, because it's a moment of great change. And so you really want to be in alignment with what your truth is, because we're going through this huge transformation right now. This is a card of fire, which is a card of transformation. It's a card of the phoenix. It's the firebird rising from the ashes, you know, because it's like when you go through the fire, wood turns into ash, water turns into air, and things are changing, you know. I mean, and that can be really unsettling for people, like everything that's going on, like with the Capitol and all the drama that happened, you know, and it did like draw this line in the sand. Like that was a reading from a couple weeks ago, I mean days ago, so I'm just gonna put it up here. But it drew a line in the sand, and people kind of had to take a stand on one side or the other depending on what their values are, you know, because we're all, it's like a moment where we have to commit, you know, to like one side or the other, you know. So it's interesting that we have all this fire, but then it totally cools off with the last two cards. We got the Rainmaker and the Medicine Wheel. So it's really interesting how the colors, you know, it's like super hot and fiery and transformative, and then we got this rainstorm that like kind of puts out the fire, you know. And so the Rainmaker is a card of like co-creating with the universe and with the divine, and it's a card of manifesting, you know. So again, it's just sort of like depending on which side of the line you're on, like this can be a moment of great destruction because walls are coming down, but there's also this new reality that's emerging. So depending on how you're lined up with that, it could be a moment of good or bad. It's like a moment of opportunity, you know, like they talk about, and I brought this up before, like long ago, but like during the Great Depression, like it was this crazy moment of tumult, you know, but then like some people can seize the opportunity in that and like come out actually better, you know, like the Kennedys invested in the stock market and then they ended up creating this empire out of that, you know, because they were like in alignment with the moment, you know. And then we have this Medicine Wheel, which is this is a card of profound healing, and it's like going through this process of like basically shedding what no longer serves you, like what's not in alignment with your truth and where you want to go and who you want to be. And like that's why it's really important to get grounded and rooted in your truth, because at this moment of transformation, we're going to go through the fire, and like you can't, all you can take with you through this fire is your truth, you know, like there's no room for the extra flack. Like, it's all getting shed right now. We're getting distilled down to, like, basically our bare essence, like what's really truly important to us. And this is a moment when that's happening, because we're all going to go forward into this new world, and we're going to have to, like, focus on what we want to, like, bring forward. Like, there's no more, like, humoring other people. Like, you're either on one side of the line or the other. Like, for example, like, there was this whole showdown, you know, like with Donald Trump and the vice president that happened this week, you know. And Donald Trump was, like, wanting the vice president to go this one way. And he, at the end of the day, had to decide if he was going to go with him or if he was going to honor his own truth and, like, go with that, you know. And so at the end of the day, like, he had been super loyal all this time, but then he decided, okay, I'm going to go this other way. And so there is, like, this line got drawn in the sand, and now they're both on totally different trajectories. And, you know, not to say anything bad about either one of them, this stuff happens in life. This is just, like, evolution, you know. But, like, you know, they were like this until the line got drawn in the sand, and now they're, like, totally on different trajectories. And it all happened, like, just overnight, you know. So it's pretty wild. Okay, so then I'm going to the Urban Tarot, and at the bottom I got the Seven of Wands, or Valor. But this is the card of having to stand your ground behind your truth, you know. So again, like, this message of, like, really having to, like, distill it down to what your truth is, and, like, you gotta, like, stand your ground behind that, you know, because basically we're all going through the fire, and we have to decide, like, where we stand, and we gotta stick with it, you know, because, like, everything's changing. Like, it's kind of like, you know, all the unnecessary stuff is going to get washed away in this sort of storm that's going down, you know, and we're gonna, like, wake up to a new world on the other side of it, you know. Okay, so we got the Mage, the Moon, the Ace of Wands. It's so crazy how this stuff lines up. It's beautiful. The Eon, and the Activist. So this really speaks to, like, what I was talking about, you know. It's like there's this person, the Mage, this is someone who can create gold from lead, you know. It's a creator. Like, it's someone who has the ability to make things happen, you know. And this person is going deep, you know, and they're like, they're taking this moment to really figure out what they're about, you know. It's pretty cool how these two, like, line up and match. But because once the dust settles, like, we're going out of the gate, like, passionate, fiery, and focused, you know, like, tan, rested, and ready. Because there's this karmic reckoning that's underway, you know. That actually was a video that I'm going to link up here too right now. And it's like we got to get behind this larger cause, like what we really care about, you know, because that's what's going to propel us forward. Then, interestingly enough, on the next, we got the Public Defender, we got Virtue, we got the Hanged Man, we got Victory, and we got the Wheel of Fortune. So it's interesting that this is, like, in there in the middle, you know, because we've got this Devil card also, you know. So there is this, like, toxicity, and there is this muse, you know, who's kind of, like, rising above whatever this situation is, you know, this creator that's, like, rising out of this, you know. But there, you know, this does imply that there's, like, some oppression that we're, like, overcoming as we, like, move through this moment, you know, and, like, we're manifesting. I mean, these are both cards of manifesting, but, like, the Three of Wands is a card of, like, it's kind of holding your vision, because you can see off in the distance what you're trying to bring into the world, but it's not here yet, you know. And so this is happening, like, we're in process, you know. And then we have the Hanged Man, which is a card of, like, kind of taking a step back and, like, getting perspective. taking a moment for yourself while we're having this transformation, because, you know, you can like easily get burned up in the fire right now too. I mean, there's so much crazy stuff going on that it's like, you know, it might be a moment to like hunker down at home and like really like think about like what's important and like get solid on that, you know, because things are changing, you know, and like undeniably, and we might have to sacrifice some things in order to bring into focus what this passion is. But it's interesting that, you know, these cards fell out together, and it also fell out with this harsh truth that's coming out, you know. So, and then we got victory. So there's this karmic reckoning that's happening, you know, like I said, there was like a line being drawn in the sand, and there's a great reckoning that's happening. But then there's victory, like for these manifestors, you know, for people that are in alignment with the goals of like spirit, you know. For if you are in alignment with that plan, like there's a blessing coming your way, you know. And then we got the Wheel of Fortune. So like whatever this toxic situation is, it's getting flipped around. We're like leaving it in the past, and we're going forward with a lot of passion towards this cause, you know. So this is really a pretty fiery reading, but like also like it looks really good. Like we're moving forward towards something that really, it's like kind of like all this drama is kind of like bringing things into focus for people, because it's kind of like one of those moments of truth where you have to sort of commit, you know, like one way or the other. Okay, I'm gonna shuffle from the Oracle of Seven Energies, and I'll get a final card to leave out the reading. But definitely an exciting week. I mean, things are for sure shifting, and we're definitely starting out the year with a bang. I mean, or I had a reading that was like going out with a bang at the end of the year, but I mean, it's like we had to spend so much time in contemplation last year that I think there's a lot of energy to like go forward now that's coming through. Okay, we got Feeling the World. Interesting. All right, I'm gonna read it to you. Ah, it turned right to the page. That's so wild. It's a good sign. Sensitivity to the feelings of others, awareness of the whole world in a broader perception, empathy, overload, and overwhelm. Empathy reminds you that you are not alone. It is a beautiful capacity to feel the connectivity all around you, giving you a profound sense of belonging, a broader experience of being part of the larger whole. That said, it can be overwhelming, especially when you don't know where you end and the rest of the world begins. Now is the time to be clear about your boundaries. Ask yourself whose energy you've tuned into, and you might find it's not even yours. If you're feeling off or drained when you're with someone, they may be siphoning your energy. In such an instance, this connection is not good for you. No matter how charismatic the person is or how attracted to them you feel, do not mistake codependency for closeness or allow boundaries to become too porous. Trust your instincts and take care of you. Practice saying no. Avoid the temptation to turn off and go numb. Instead, be present. Somewhere in the middle of this feeling spectrum is where the magic is. You are also being asked now to be aware of how your words and actions may affect others. While it's not your job to determine how someone will respond to you, discernment is necessary. Be firm yet kind. Keep in mind that people-pleasing will not give you what you truly need. That said, your empathy is beautiful and important. It just has to be balanced in order for you to access its wondrous gifts. Today, celebrate the beauty of your sensitivity and that of others. Wow. That really speaks to this moment, I think, you know, because I think there's a lot going on like this with the president, you know, where there's boundaries being being drawn. I mean, he's like for sure this powerful manifester, but like sometimes when you're used to like having the world at your fingertips, you can lose sight of like the impact that your words might have on other people, you know, like that got really wild this week. And so, you know, this speaks to this message of like really tuning into your own roots and what you're trying to bring into this world and focusing on that. And that's what you're going to bring forward. And like, you're going to have to let go of like other people's motives that might be around you and really focus on what you are wanting to bring forward, because there's a huge blessing in that if you can like really hone it in and focus on it. So good luck with that, and I'll be back soon with another reading.